iHipHopTV.com on YouTube. Shit is fire. Check out iHipHopTV.com.
That's right. That's right. You know what time it is. This is iHipHopTV. It's your man P Stock, and it's time to go. We got a great show tonight. You know, that's how we do it. Big shout out to Mad Money Militia, Inc., Dark Diva, Aladdin 19, you know, Dress the Culture Gang, Big Wall, all of the family, all our supporters, 2K Kent, Frank Stickums, Young NAZ. The Bay Area is in effect, for real. You know, that's how we roll. But tonight, you know, no different. You know, tonight we have a lesson. You know, usually we come through with shows. Tonight's a lesson. It's a life lesson. It's a very good lesson. It's a positive lesson that moves the people and everybody into a positive direction. And it comes with support. You know, that's something you don't get a lot of these days. It comes with support and a knowledgeable support, a deep background, and a great history. You know, so tonight we're gonna go back and we're gonna talk about what's been happening and with the Black Panther Party. You know, that's goes back to the late 60s when it kicked off in the Oakland area, and even up to the day. It's still in effect. You might think it's not. It's still in motion. And that's the beautiful thing about it. It's not going anywhere. You know, it's still being taught, that there's still education going on. There's still a lot of lesson plans, and there's a lot more to give to come out of there. And tonight we have two great men that comes from the Panther Party from back in the day. We have Dr. Saturu Ned, and we have Professor Steve McCutchen. You know, and these are guys that were there at the beginning, at the foundation. You know, so that's what we like about this. This is our foundation members that we're bringing to the house, and this is a big thing right here. This is what's going on. This is what's happening. So hey, what's going on? Let me see. Your feeds are out. Let me see. Can y'all hear me?
Yeah,
there you go. There you go. There y'all go. There they go. Hiding out. You know, that's that real Panther intro right there. There they go. So what's happening, gentlemen? How are you? Can you hear me? Yeah, everything's okay?
All right. We're good to go.
Yeah.
He stopped.
All right. There it is right there. So this is what we're dealing with. You know, we're dealing with, and it's funny because Professor Steve, I was reading about you. You came from Baltimore, the Baltimore chapter. I lived in Baltimore for a while, and Baltimore is a place that can use it. You know, I lived all over Baltimore and the down on the Broad Street area, down in the Fells Point, and all that stuff down there. So Baltimore is a city that can use the Panther Party today as well. You know, like most minority communities that's in these urban cities, we need that. A lot of everything the Panther Party started was adapted by governments and taken over by governments, and like everything they do, they try to squeeze it out. They don't want you to know. They want to project the Panther Party as being this radical movement and group that can get radical with you if you force the hand, but it's there to educate and to help the people and to bring everything to the communities from that they couldn't get from outside of the communities. But people was denying the minorities in those times. But hey, but I'm gonna leave it to Yuns because Yuns were there, and Yuns know the whole truth. So that's how we're gonna kick it off. So we're gonna kick it off. Who'd like to start? Dr. Ned, let us know, you know, your foundation and the background to the party. Then we'll get into Professor Steve's, and then we want to talk about what's happening today. And like we talked about earlier off air, let's start attaching people, the younger youth in the community, and bringing them in, and let's take them to the next level.
All right. Thank you so much for that introduction.
First of all, I want to give a shout out to all our brothers and sisters and comrades and their families and Panther Cubs and the community and our community workers and all those and the new generation of young people who are learning the legacy of the Black Panther Party. This is for you. So, PJ, thank you so much, Brother P. I just wanted to mention that, well, when you mentioned that, the roots of where we started, and one thing Professor Steve and I always mention to everyone is that the average age was 17 to 19, which really surprises so many youth. And some as young as 15 and a half or 15 like Momia, a boo who's still locked up. But it was an amazing period. For me, coming from my daddy was in the service. He used
Mm-hmm.
to tell me about World War II. He was part of 371st Tank Division called the Black Panthers. So grew up under a legacy of him telling me stories of how it was to grow up in the South and how
Mm-hmm.
he had to leave Orange, Texas because he got into a dispute with one of the white folks in the town and they had earmarked him. And you would hear a lot of stories from our parents or people who grew up in the South during the era. So that set the stage for us understanding that there was something wrong in America.
Mm-hmm.
So moving a little bit further, I we experienced, we started seeing the things. Our parents would tell us stories. We would see the conditions in our community. And we began to understand things aren't right in America. And we have to try 10 times as hard. My first, my first contact introduction, we were coming off the civil rights movement.
Mm-hmm.
And the question with us was civil rights or human rights? Human rights is everywhere in the world, and we should have the right to eat, to live, to do whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So, and also the idea of how are we going to handle this? Should we, as human beings, not have the right if someone attacks us to not allow them to attack us? Is this the right methodology? So we would sit and talk, and we were becoming aware. But my first introduction to that part of the movement came with SNCC, Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee. For me, it was a shoe in. I was going to school, high school student. We were all very aware of the civil rights movement. It was a growing era of awareness and what direction we were going to go in. So I joined SNCC and was part of the West Coast group. And
Mm-hmm.
at that time, it was interesting because even though the churches in the South were involved in the civil rights movement, young people from the campuses and schools who got into like movements like SNCC and the concept of black power meant economic power for black people. They
Mm-hmm.
demonized that, and black people thought, oh, so they even had black people thinking, oh, they're going to go out and kill all these white people, or this is what they want to do. They just want to kill white people. Of course, that was the first distortion. So for me, as a student, and seeing the change and looking at youth, young people, and the fact that we knew it then, the symbol of the panther as a SNCC member was drawn and created at Clark College, which is now Clark University. And there were two black women who were SNCC members, and there was a white woman because the original button had a black and white fist shaking hands. So they had a culmination of people working together. A lot of people are amazed when they hear that story.
Mm-hmm.
But the symbol was a voting symbol. And so it was used in the South. And there was a billboard, a historical billboard, that says, pull the lever, vote, or go home.
Mm-hmm.
And so the Freedom Rider buses would meet them at the church if they didn't burn the church down. And they
Mm-hmm.
would put all these black folks on. This was part of what the students were doing in SNCC at the time in the South. And they would ferry them to the voting place with a symbol of Black Panther. They would vote and safely make sure that they got back home before the buses were taxed or the voters with. And that's just a little bit of history of my involvement in SNCC. Now, my introduction to the Black Panther Party, I don't know, maybe the concept of the Panthers, our lives or similarities when Professor Steve gets into his East Coast, West Coast. Uh, it was amazing for me because that day I was downtown Sacramento. I had skipped school. It was some recut day. Uh, well, a sort of a unwritten concept at the end of the quarter, as they call it. Most seniors would, a few days before school was out. So I happened to be downtown watching then Governor Ronald Reagan, who later became president, playing with a group of young kids from the suburbs. And I saw the state police take them away. I looked still down at the next entrance right off of J Street, about 150 yards down, and I saw some people walking in. I thought they had sticks. I thought they had, things, holding them up like this. I didn't know. So rushed down there, went in, and so did those kids that were left standing there in their chaperones. And what I saw, I'll never forget. I saw a group of people who were basically dressed like everyone in the community, and they had some law books, and they also had a statement that they were trying to read. And I looked at people cowering underneath the desk, and they were pointing toward the balcony because originally they were going to read the Constitution of the United States and the right to bear arms to defend the community. And a lot of people don't realize that Emory Douglas, our minister of culture, our beautiful brother, is still around doing great things. He talks about how only about 5 members of what the original Oakland-based only Black Panther Party were Panthers. The rest were representing the community against the Mulford Act, which was the right to bear arms. And the idea was, of course, and this was all across the nation, as people left the South, they also migrated to the shipyards and along came Klansmen, joined police departments on the West Coast. And so the oppression was still there. There were no commissions. There was no unity organization. There was not in the favor of black people at the time. So that was the thing that they wanted to make a bold statement. So I didn't join. I joined in May of 1968, which actually the next year, at the same time, the Baltimore chapter, we started our first breakfast program in May of '69. Now, during that interim period, I was running track and field and organizing on the campuses and as well as in the community. Part of what I did was I ran track and field, but I also want to mention is that the reason why Jesse Unruh, then the state attorney general, finally said the Black Panther Party is treating more children than the U.S. government. As myself and one other party member, we make sure that the governor and other members of the California state legislature had Panther papers. And needless to say, after that, every state worker, they all started buying the papers. And they wanted to see what the so-called contradiction to where one finally high-ranking official finally says, look, they're feeding more kids than you could ever feed at that point in time. So, just before May, we were starting our breakfast program. I was running track and field as an athlete. And my compadres at San Jose State had gone, of course, to the Olympics before that, Tommy Smith and John Farley. And that plan was to boycott everything. So, I remember coming in from a practice, we were getting ready for a major relay race. Sort of like the Penn State relays.
Like the Penn relays, yeah.
Yeah, it was the West Coast relays.
Yeah.
Right? And so I come in, so my coach Jim Sackett, and he was just a Midwestern guy. He wasn't a radical. He was shaking. He said, "You have visitors?" I said, "Yeah, coach, I'm going to class." He said, "No, they were from the FBI." And I said, "What did I do?" He said, "They gave you the ultimatum. They said if you didn't start organizing or leave the Black Panther Party, you're gonna have some consequences. And if you do, You're gonna send me anywhere you want. Harvard, yeah, full ride. So I started joking with him, and I realized he was serious. And so I
Mm.
finally told him, it's like it all became real to me. That's when it hit me. The direction I was gonna go. I said, I will not
Okay,
stop
Dr.
what I'm
Nay,
doing.
look like
Yeah.
look like like you ran into a spot right there.
Can you see me?
There you
Can you
go.
hear me?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
you're back.
Yeah. Okay, we have those little spots. So I told him I was gonna do what I had to do. He gave me a strong hug. I never saw him again because June of 1969, COINTELPRO, Ronald Reagan said, if they want a bloodbath, let it begin. And they started the concept. On
Mm.
Father's Day, 1969, Oak Park, California, Sacramento, had over 5,000 people. Young kids, families, young men, reuniting them with their families, and Antarctica. 200 officers from the LA Pakistan later became shot. And it was announced by the mayor of the city and the county. We were looking at beginning a health scheme. And shortly after that, I'm just giving you the train of events of my story. Was transferred. We sent the office down in Sacramento about 6 months later. It was directed by Central Committee and Bobby Seale to come to first stop in Richmond. And eventually I was transferred to the community center, which is right down the street. And then I was transferred directly to Central Headquarters. So part of my duties was Central Headquarters security, also working with some of our national spokespersons, and every other duty that you can imagine in between. So, 1971, there was a lot happening. And, part of that origin period we talked about, and Professor Steve, I'm going to leave that part for you when we talk about the transition from getting back to our original vision uh,
Mm-hmm.
and how important the work that we did. And I want to say, I showed you, I hope, Professor Steve, you got a copy. I hope you have a copy of your book there. I showed him a copy of the Lincoln Book Party Music, the story of the Lincoln Singing Group. And everything we did was a talent that we brought to the table. If you told me you went to med school and you was going to be a nurse, well, the peace stars, you would be opening up healthcare. That's how it was. And along with our understanding and our ideology, we were able to make things happen. And what I can say about the Lincoln after Bobby Stewart kidnapped, it was Henry Douglas's idea, and there's a whole story of how we came together. The other Buckley brothers were in San Francisco, they come down from San Jose. I was in Oakland, Central, and we would hear us singing. We all
Mm-hmm.
had music experience, so we thought about this would be a great way to reach people who would never come to the park, or never come to a rally, or never come to a political education class. But it also destroyed the image that was painted of the revolutionary peace thought. The guy
Mm-hmm.
that you saw, he's puffing on a cigar, right? And he looked
Mm-hmm.
at you and asked you why you having a good time, why you party. There's a revolution, damn it. You ain't for the people, you know. So what the Lumpkin did with the music, the singing that we were able, and of course at that time I had been assigned to the colleges by Dr.
Mm-hmm.
Lee himself to help his brother organize the first functional African American study that began on merit after they moved to the flatlands to the hills. So that was the beginning of bringing the community and saying, y'all just like us. Say, hell yeah, we have dreams, we have fears, we have hopes, we cry, we laugh, we love life like y'all. So that also brought that era going into the origin of getting back into the unbelievable survival, 65 survival program. So that part of it, and going on the tours back east and things developing, and there's a whole story in the book. And of course, if you have any questions as we go about these things, wonderful, please do. But the idea here is that the dynamics of bringing the total community that we're human beings keep. And then After that, there was the Bobby Sealer Brown campaign. The
Mm.
Bible conferences, registering thousands, 10,000 or more to vote, local elections, sickle cell
Mm-hmm.
testing, which we're back into that concept again, and giving away 10,000 bags or more of groceries at one time. So we're covering the needs of our community and also the campaign to say that we can take local control of our politics. And of course, they didn't win. That's what they said. We say we did. And so, they vote. 1977, the first black mayor was elected in Oakland, Lionel J.
Mm.
Wilson, who served 3 terms. But before that, there was none. Before that, there was no women. Before that, there was no minority representation. Despite what people think, and this is true, of course, back in America. But one of the greatest joys of my life was when I became an instructor at the Oakland Community School and Learning Center.
Mm-hmm.
Each one teach one. To teach children how to think and not what to think of the world is your classroom. It was amazing how people from everywhere, every well-known person, Maya Angelou taught there 3 days a week. Everybody who was part of the movement, anybody would come to that school. And the school won an award of education excellence in 1977 from the California State Legislature. And when our children finally tested against the Oakland Public School system, they were 3 to 4 grades ahead. And there was a whole system. We were teaching STEM 2 languages. We were doing a lot. Looking at, and everything that we did with those programs, the SAFE program, which is now Paracamp, the Seniors Against Fearful Environment, everything that we did at that point in time became what we call modern day survival programs, which are now still moving and redeveloping, and people are looking at why they're giving away food. This is where it came from. During COVID, a lot of people are going to say that the Black Panther Party set the standard, and the love that was shown when everybody was in it together.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody took those very same concepts and were feeding thousands. We're taking care of one another. And you said this before, please stop. That's one thing that is missing today. So I just want to give you that ride forward, and I think I will stop now and return it back over to you.
That's big, and a lot of people, and that's the information I want, because there's information that I'm sure people out there and people that's going to see this have never known before. Like some of the books, uh, the lumping, the party music, how everything plays its factor, and that's big. and the same with Professor Steve. He too wrote a book and put it out there. I mean, it's just this right here is such a historic moment for iHipHopTV. That's to have you two gentlemen on, and what you bring to the table. It's beautiful, and this is just I would put it like this. This is just the first taping, because you're going to be back. You're going to be back. You're going to be back, because there's always information that's got to be put out. There's always updates on everything, and I would like for Yuns to definitely be there to distribute that information to the community. For sure, on iHipHopTV on the platform. That's where we like to go. So, Professor Steve, Baltimore, man, you're coming from Baltimore. You was a few places. I used to Philadelphia, New York. I went to college in Philadelphia, and then in New York, I worked out of New York. So we tapped in a lot of the same places. And those times, though, and back in those days, it was a different scene. It's probably better back then, I would say, even though we had the racism, especially in Philadelphia with the Rizzo Air Police and policing and all that stuff, that than it is today. Today it's off the hook there, in some of these places, more so than it was back then, especially in our communities, which is by design. You know, it's by design that they have our communities in these states. But Professor Steve, and you're the what we call the Secretary of Defense. Motion. You started to have the martial arts programs and everything, and got that in the communities, which is huge. You know, and we still need that. You know, so we got Professor Steve McCutchen coming in here to bless us with some information there, and also an author of the book of "We Were Free for a While," you know, which is that I like that. You know, we were free for a while. You know, so let's talk about it. What's going on, Professor Steve?
All right. Hey, good evening, Peace Doc, and the rest of the audience there. All right, Doc, here we go. All right, let me go back to the beginning here, just like Dr. Ned, and let's try to piece this together and move forward.
Yes.
In 1968, I caught wind of the Black Panther Party because I was actually caught between a rock and a hard place, trying to get into college and at the same time avoid the U.S. military draft because I had been classified as 1A by the Selective Service Department. And also during 1968 was the year that the Black Panther Party expanded outside of California to Seattle, then across the country, and reached New York, and then up and down the East Coast to Boston, New Haven, then down to Philadelphia and Baltimore. And I was looking for an organization that could lead me towards an outlet from the military and also enhance the opportunities that I had to participate in the struggle and understanding of Black and poor communities. From 65, 66, I had been following H. Rat Brown, Stokely Carmichael, and the SNCC, because SNCC was active in the area, particularly in eastern Maryland, and coming from the southern areas up through Maryland. But the information that I had and the access that I had to SNCC did not qualify as something that was going to trying to get me closer to solving that dilemma that I had in terms of the military.
Yes.
And then the civil rights movement on the heels of the assassination of Martin Luther King and Bobby Kennedy, Baltimore was in a similar situation like many of the urban cities, right, in the Midwest and up and down the East Coast. And then I had a friend of mine who knew I was interested in finding out more about these Black Panthers and see what their take was in terms of the poor people struggle, and see if they also had anything to offer about the war in Vietnam and the resistance being built around Vietnam. So he told me, hey, the Panthers are organizing over there in East Baltimore. And I was living at that time, West Baltimore near Walbrook Junction. So he said they're on Eden Street, but I'm not sure exactly where. So I took a trip over there. Couldn't find the office at first. I was downtown later that week, and coming past the Greyhound bus station down on Howard Street, I ran into a brother, Zeke Boyd, who was selling Panther papers. I stopped and talked. He gave me the latest copy, newspaper, and told me that there were orientations every Sunday night. Gave me the address, invited me to the orientation, and I followed up on it that week. I arrived at the office. The office was on Eden Street then, 1209 Eden Street. And I was invited in, come in, sit down, and I talked to a brother who was then a lieutenant in the Baltimore chapter, named Charles Butler. And he talked about the party. Then I asked at that time based on the development and understanding of the party at that time. And then asked me, said, did you just want information? Well, I said, I'm interested in joining, but because of my situation, pending situation, and I was 1A draft status then. I was Vietnam bait then.
Yeah.
So I knew what that meant. So I had to find some leverage, some way to maintain my interest in the movement that Black people had been developing and been involved in and pushing for all those years. Find some way to, again, kill two birds with one stone. Avoid that rock in a hard place. So when I left the office that evening, went home with the copy of the newspaper, which had come out. That was the issue that come out in November 1968 when Elvis Cleaver had left the country. He left the country and that he was in the middle of Black people, surrounded by guns. That was the cover on the Black Panther newspaper that week. And when I arrived home in Glencrest Apartments in West Baltimore, reading through the articles in the newspaper, just trying to get an overview of what the Black Panther Party had been involved in, what was occurring in other chapters around the country. And I finished reading that. At the end of the newspaper was the 10-point program and platform. And reading down the wants and the reasoning behind the wants of the program and platform, point number 7 of the 1966 version of the 10-point program and platform said, we want all Black men exempt from military service. That was the hook. That was the hook that I needed to bridge that gap between some solution with my pending military situation and to begin gaining a fuller understanding of what was happening in terms of Black liberation and the struggles that were occurring in with the Black Panther Party and presence of the United States government and interfering with the lives of Black and poor people. So that was the hook that I needed, that 10-point program and platform. So I went back to the office and committed myself to the Black Panther Party. We had an application process back then, but there were some undercurrents then that were not visible to me since I was new to the organization and new to what the party intended to do down the road in terms of acting as this political vanguard, this political revolutionary organization. So I had a steep hill to climb. I had a steep learning curve from there. And moving from my school history books, looking at the environment there in Baltimore and gaining a broader view of what was happening, not only in Baltimore, but the other communities, Black communities up and down the East Coast, as well as throughout the rest of the country. So I had a steep learning curve in terms of moving from someone who just came in out of the cold, so to speak, into that environment of the Black Panther Party. So in 1969, one of our members, Eddie Conway, had informed national headquarters that there didn't seem to be that type of uniformity and growth in terms of the understanding of members and what the vision of the Black Panther Party was supposed to be. So, and it was also during this time that Field Marshal DC and other members of the party had been traveling the country, visiting different chapters and branches, and seeing how they were coming along, if they were following organizational protocol, or if there had to be changes made. When he arrived at Baltimore on the 4th of July, 1969, it seemed that all hell broke loose throughout that chapter. And it sent shockwaves from our office out into the community. There had to be some changes made within the Baltimore chapter. It was the awakening and call to alert for those who either wanted to step up on the front lines and be members of the party, true representatives of the community, or step off to the side and let the party grow and flourish as it was intended to do. After Field Marshal Don Cox and Henry Mitchell, who had come from the New York State chapter and was traveling with the Field Marshal, after they arrived and we had gathered all the people who were calling themselves in Panther at the office, and we received the clarification from the Field Marshal then on how the chapter was supposed to be run, and those who couldn't participate in the functioning of the chapter, they need to leave. When Don Cox asked how many people could function on a daily basis with the Black Panther Party chapter there were 12 to 15 of us who raised our hands. The room was full that evening. But when he asked for that show of hands and that call to represent the Baltimore chapter, the door cleared out, the room cleared out as though it had been a fire alarm in the building. Field Marshal announced that those of you raise your hands and operate and function here every day, you're the only Panthers here in Baltimore. And so from July 4th, 1969, after that restructuring and looking at the commitments called for by the Black Panther Party, we were on track then to begin operating and function as the organizational structure and views and policies of the Black Panther Party had intended for. So from that point, 1969, our presence in the community grew. We were able to expand on the free breakfast programs, add clothing programs, add shoe programs, and we began to submit articles to the Black Panther Party newspaper. Our speaking engagements increased so that there was true community awareness there in the area. And being in East Baltimore, that's where we concentrated primarily. We didn't venture into West Baltimore at the time because East Baltimore had enough issues right there that we were called on to address, or at least alert the community that we were aware of and concerned. And during that time, there were skirmishes. Some party members still didn't get the idea, didn't get the understanding then that this was an organization. This was we were not a group of freelancers, not a group of adventurers and opportunists out there creating havoc and spreading misinformation. So as we were able to get a better grasp of the educational ideas and information that needed to be disseminated among the community, and as people began to participate more with our programs and our programs, we gained more of the confidence of people in the East Baltimore area, and eventually, as word spread about the Black Panther Party being involved in digging roots in the community, so did it a call for us to be more active and more visible in issues that related to the stores, particularly around stores that weren't donating to our breakfast program. We didn't understand the political semantics of the party and how our 10-point program and platform addressed the needs, the immediate needs and wants of the community. As that information became more distinct and wider spread, so did that confidence grow in us, and also the irritation and animosity between the agencies in Baltimore, the already existing repressive mechanisms in Baltimore, and those who did not understand that the Black Panther Party was not just the next step in the movement of blacks towards civil rights or human rights, but the party itself was an evolutionary step. It was an episodical step in terms of including black people into methods, means, and understanding of attaining their own liberation and self-determination in the community. So during this period, John Clark from the LA chapter was set to become the new defense captain in Baltimore. And during that period, we restructured our staff, our leadership staff, and made sure that areas of responsibility and task were clear to all the members, and make sure that we in turn understood what responsibilities we had internally, as well as what our assignments were in terms of educating, organizing, and mobilizing around particular areas there in the city. And it was during this period of time also that I was assigned more speaking engagements, and along with being lieutenant of information, I was assigned to teach the political education classes, also along with our defense captain, John Clark. He eventually, because of legal problems, the local police agencies and other legal agencies began probing around, looking for anything that they could tarnish the image of the Baltimore chapter. And as I was called to different chapters to sit in on how they were operating and what they could add to our growth and understanding, I was able to visit and work at the Philadelphia chapter, New York chapter, and the New Haven chapter. But in 1970, in April 1970, seemed like the whole city exploded behind two events. One was the shooting of two Baltimore cops in East Baltimore, which after the dust cleared, the police and legal forces pointed fingers at 3 of our members, Eddie Conway in particular, Jack Johnson, and another brother named Chippy, who passed away after as a result of the trial and his confinement. And eventually, those indictments were handed out in April, but the next week, on April 30th, the same day Nixon chose to invade Cambodia, agencies in Baltimore had they had secured indictments against 13 of the original members of the Baltimore chapter, including myself. And on morning of April 30th, the state troopers, FBI, and Baltimore police came together to raid our pads, our Panther pads, our programs, and were planning to surround and attack our main office, which then had moved to Gay Street. The raids on homes was carried out at a number of locations. Some of the people involved had been indicted, were scooped up in that. None were found. None of the people that the police and legal agencies had targeted were at our programs then. So that made them headlines that day in Baltimore. But during that time, we were able to get information out to the news media about the raids and attacks in process that were in progress then. And from early in the morning, once we were able to alert the media, all through the day, people gathered around our office in the streets, that whole block of Gay Street and the next streets over. People were coming to check on us. And from that day, people stayed on that street of the 1200 block of Gay Street to protect our office, from police raid, and to be able to get information out to the news media and inform them about this pending attack, as they suspected that members who had been indicted were still in the Gay Street office. That issue stayed in the news for a while, and it forced me and others who were still there, who were included in that indictment, to take leave of Baltimore at that time until we could put together a legal strategy to clear us of the charges that were involved. 1971, one of our comrades who was in indictment, he went to court and was convicted. Second brother who was involved in the case went to court and was acquitted of all the same charges. The state's attorney, who was at that time, who came in, happened to be black, and he looked at the cases, all the pending cases, and said, you can't have one guilty and one innocent. So he had full investigation of the case itself, of the charges against party members, and after those first two cases with different verdicts, he said the charges against everyone else is going to be dismissed. Everyone else who was in line to go to court on those charges were dropped. No apology from anyone, from the city or from the state's attorney office. So most of us returned to our status and operation in the Baltimore chapter And of course, through attrition, the psychological and emotional effects, some of the members decided that their time was with the Black Panther Party had come and passed. At the end of 1971, we received notice that there were going to be some changes in the structure of the party nationally, and that further information would be passed out. In 1972, it was announced that the party was going to consolidate. The chapters were going to consolidate from all around the country and come to Oakland for further ideological, political education, training, and to make sure that all the members from around the country in the different chapters were operating through the same vision and with the same ideas in mind.
Mm-hmm.
In March 1972, as we have received word to plan to come out in sometime in March, John Seal had called the office, and I was on the phones that night. And the story I'd like to tell, it was 1972, and he called, gave me a little update on what was going to happen. Party members who chose to would come out to Oakland, and the chapters, the existing chapters, would eventually close down completely, except for those comrades who wanted to stay behind and operate the community survival programs. And during that short conversation I had with John, I asked him how long were those of us who came out going to be in Oakland. And he told me for the season. Season. Now this was 1972. He said, I'm going to be out here for the season. Now that's 2 years. There's some different seasons in California than from any other place in the country.
Yeah.
We were informing our comrades at political education classes what was going to happen and to make plans to leave Baltimore and come out to California. And so by choice, those who decided to go made arrangements, and those who decided to stay and either continue the programs or to go about their lives, everyone made those decisions. I arrived here in 1972, and it was the weekend of our first community survival conference, 3-day conference that we held at the last 3 days of March 1972 with voter registration, massive voter registration at the different events and venues, clothing giveaway, shoe giveaway, and the final day, that Sunday evening at the old Oakland auditorium, Bobby Seals' presentation, and two things happened. He announced that closing session that he was throwing his cap into the ring into the 1973 mayoral election campaign. And that night we gave away 10,000 bags of groceries at the Oakland auditorium. That was my introductory week to coming to arriving in Oakland. And after that event, I was later assigned to the printing cadre, which was coordinated by one of our comrades from San Francisco, Brother Benny Harris, who had been an engineer before the party. And when he arrived at the party, he had come across an old Chief 22 printing press, which he updated, and that printing press was used for the printing of our flyers, our posters that were distributed around the areas.
Mm-hmm.
And when I designed there, I began learning about the mechanics of lithography. So that was an upgrade right there, an improvement, jumpstart in terms of a skill that I was learning, and that was useful for the party's needs and for distribution of information throughout the community.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Also during that time when we relocated from 1048 Peralta Street, the central headquarters, to East Oakland, to 8501 International Boulevard. And many of the cadres that have been operating at different centers throughout the Oakland area, they were assigned to work out of headquarters. And again, the printing cadre was there. And so I operated there at central headquarters until the spring and summer 1973. This is when I received word of the Oakland, the Intercommunal Youth Institute opening later that year, 1973. And that year I was assigned to work at the Intercommunal Youth Institute, which later was renamed the Oakland Community School, and the parent facility, the Oakland Community Learning Center. And I was assigned to teach first 2 years to teach math and physical education. And in 1974, when I had introduced martial arts as part of the physical education curriculum, some of the youth in the community in the East Oakland area had asked me, can they learn martial arts? So after checking, find out what would be on the agenda, what such a class would involve, I was given the go-ahead to set up an orientation, invite young people, maybe 12 to 18, to the program. And in October 1974, that was the launch of the Oakland Community Center martial arts program. It was an after-school program. After my school responsibilities of teaching the students there, after those were completed, then as part of my continuing task, on those days, it's 2 days at first, 3 days later after school. So the students started coming in. The program started off with maybe 30 students. During the last half of 1974, students learned a combination of Taekwondo and the application of Jeet Kune Do, which was some that Bruce Lee had taught and practiced, and I had also taken classes in that style. Mm-hmm. 1975, the martial arts program turned the corner when we had students from other schools started to attend the program. So this brought a new chemistry to the martial arts class. And I changed the chemistry from an ideal of self-defense to tournament competition. And as the students began to participate more and more in the competition and started winning, not only did this draw in more students, but it increased the interest in the martial arts program at the Oakland Community Learning Center. And summer 1975, the interview had been set up in the winter of 1975. Black Belt Magazine had stumbled onto the program and I was interviewed by Black Belt Magazine and they wanted to store it on the martial arts program. They sent a photographer, later sent a photographer back to watch the students in action. Out that interview and those photography shots, the article that was completed on behalf of that became a centerfold article in Black Belt magazine, which was published in August of 1975. By that time, the interest in the martial arts program and the newly developed team program, between those two, they brought in students, parents, and others interested in not only the team programs, but the community programs at the Oakland community, Sunday forums, and other aspects of the Oakland Community School. So we were gaining momentum and digging roots in the Black community, particularly East Oakland. And as the other community, social, and educational programs at the Oakland Community Learning Center took root, everything from not only the team program or the martial arts program, but our SAFE program, the Singers Against the Fearful Environment, and all the other programs that were generated through the social and culture needs and interests. All of these were part of that growing and entrenchment process of the Black Panther Party, and particularly through our flagship school, Oakland Community School, and the flagship parent facility, the Oakland Community Learning Center. So that's where I was until my resignation from the Black Panther Party, 1968. But the long way around is that eventually Dr. Ned and I reconnected on and off for different events. And so we're still here. We're not myths, we're not ghosts, we're not robots.
And not going nowhere. You know?
I want to touch a thing. You would need more time than that for us to even go more in depth into our stories itself. But since we have, I guess, about 25 minutes left, I wanted to take this time because we didn't get into the different periods, like after LD's Cleaver was gone. That's when with the survival program. And I want everyone to understand we didn't have, and ironically, Professor Steve and I were doing the same thing. He was lieutenant of information in the Baltimore chapter, and I was lieutenant of information in the Sacramento chapter. Both came in 1968. So the idea is after that period, the only title Dr. usually knew was called servant, and the only one we say ceremonial chairman Bobby Seale, but everyone else became what we call coordinator. You're going to coordinate a breakfast, but you're going to coordinate a health clinic. Because the idea was it wasn't about that early origin period. And that's when, as Professor Steve said, and his story mimics our stories of growth and how through the attrition. And like when we talked about like in Chicago, that story was a lot of them left when they found out about the relationship with the young patriots, the Appalachian people. From the coal mines, Slim Coleman and his crew started helping our brothers and sisters. That's part of the real original Rainbow Coalition. This was started by the Black Panther Party with Jesse Jackson. Never Jesse took it for his own. But this is the 55th anniversary. And it couldn't be any better timing to bring so many people together. And I was going to mention what they told Professor Steve, what they tell you in church. Your season is coming. When they told me we'd be out here for a season, I actually told the Seattle Erudition one, and I got in trouble for letting them know you're not going home right away. So when he said he came out for a season, just 50 something years later, he's still in California. that's the thing where blessings will come as long as you continue to work. So I can pretty much say for me and for the honor and ability, and I'm gonna say this, it was the we use the term rank and file.
Rank and file.
Many men and women who were brilliant in their own right. Remember, everyone who came from different chapters and branches were leaders in their own right. I was going
Mm-hmm.
to mention in April of 1967, that's when Muhammad Ali said, I ain't going to Vietnam, right? Which was a lynch concept which he feed into the place.
Mm-hmm.
And it was October 1967, Dr. Carmichael, Malcolm, everybody was coming to Sacramento State. So I was part of a high school group, we were high school leaders about civil rights. And when I talked, we asked Dr. King. He said, Dr. King, he said, we're not going to Vietnam. So this is what do you think we should do? You know what he told us? Do
All right.
like Muhammad Ali. A lot of people don't do like Muhammad Ali, do not fight in a moral war. That's when they said, you're too political, you gotta go. Now you're against the policies of, he was strong supporter of not fighting in a moral war. And that's what grew up Dr.
Mm.
King, of that kind of thing. He's behind, he's supporting us. And the bold move that Muhammad Ali made for time. And for me, it was little body had 2 days after Martin Luther King. Summertime Sacramento having a good time. Body had, and we say, what is he? I'm the killing teenager. And several other party members have said, that's what drew us. It wasn't a concept of black leather jackets. The black leathers and the berets, yeah, how long they last? Especially what, about a year and a half or so? See that? Yeah. The black leather jackets and the berets.
Right.
Maybe up to around 69.
Right. You look at some of the pictures of Dr. Newton going to court, the how we were dressing,
Mm-hmm.
you're trying to set the standard. So this our brothers, he, just like John Shaft. In other words, this is how black men and black women, we want to look good. We want to represent. We look good, we feel good, and it presents an image of struggle, even against everything that we're about. It's like on Saturdays, we have from 11 to 1, we have these unbelievable sessions, and we do record them. And this we've done this month. It is the dumbing down of America, and we took different topics. Dumbing down to the structure of the black family was last week.
Mm-hmm.
We tried to put together some amazing content to share with community, including some important videos, but also we bring that knowledge and information to the table. And I know one of the things, I don't know if you had any particular questions for me and Professor concerning some of the things you mentioned earlier that you're engaged in now and the legacy. And how long were you in the party? At least 12 years? At least 12
Say
years?
again.
How many years were you in the
I was
party?
in from 1968 to 1980. I was there for 12 years.
Yeah, he and I both. I was there 80, 81. And other 60, many other people that were there were in the party for a period of time. So we saw the transition. We saw the growth. We saw the global effect we had. We saw the effect we had locally.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't understand how we can change the conditions to stay on point with the needs of the people at that time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Basically, those are the things that the network, and the network is composed of former original party members. We named it Peace Out. You remember doing George Floyd. There was Black Panther organizations growing everywhere.
Yeah.
Like Johnny Appleseed. Appleseed. We're wearing leather jackets, so we call it the Black Panther Party Alumni Legacy Network because no matter what, 100 years from now, we live in 100 years, we're not here, it'll realize that it was started by original party members. Not who were there for 2 months, Not he would just come to a rally, as we used to call him. What do you call him, Professor? The drunk for lunch drunk?
Mm-hmm.
They call it peace talk. They come, the buttons all on their chest, trying to impress the women, right?
Oh.
And then someone go out and use the term liberate and go to rob a liquor store or a store, talking about we liberate, power to the people. After rob the store, right? And
Wow.
well, after that, they got rid of them. And sometimes we'll find them in garbage cans. And the reason was because when they realized what the bloodbath began, issue was
Yeah.
made by Reagan, and COINTELPRO got heavy. Oh, you saw them jumping in. So that was that period. Besides coming out, people were like, "Yeah, this is real. Yeah, this is real. It's not taking a picture with a shirt on like we would do social media, and then going about doing stuff that you know is wrong." So that was part of the process. So as we evolved, we grew, we learned, we went, into our own lives after that. And one thing that we talk about, and this may be another view, another concept. Professor Stevens always talk about getting a documentary that 1982 is still going strong. The party was officially dissolved in 1982, and we're still going strong. And the legacy is bigger and stronger than ever. And when people come up to us and, oh, we don't take that very well. You're this living year's icon. If you don't take it because we did what we did because it had to be done. And one thing we tell everybody who starts is simply this: anything you engage in, number one, you have to have a love for it. Number
Hmm.
two, you got to have a passion for it. Number three, you have to be selfless. And if you are that way, and I'm not doing it, to get on the award show, you see that all day long, don't you? You got a plaque and a T-shirt, and you shake your head, and they give each other awards and symbols. It's not what it's about. And it never, it's like when you put it out there, it all comes back to you. And people start recognizing and right now, this generation, the thirst for the knowledge. And Professor Steve always says, stay hungry. And I say live life. Because this is part of what we do in the network. It's composed of folks with researching the streets to the congregacy. People with talents, just like we talked about in the beginning, like the CWs, the community workers who were family members, who were people who worked in businesses, who had their own businesses, who worked in administrations and who were elected, they came to the table. And professors, everybody, medical people, as you can see in the 65 documented about Cancer University survival program, and there's actually at least another 30 more that have been finished. So our work today still continues. We're dealing with reflux for sickle cell anemia. There was a cure. There's, hey, he says, we're telling you that we have a cure for sickle cell. Please stop. Your 12-year-old child, we're going to change their DNA. There may be some side effects, but thank God we have a cure. Oh,
For sickle cell.
by the way, you got $2.5, $3 million. So that's what it costs for that. That is the hereditary disease that initially we brought out Sickle Cell Anemia Foundation, and now it's back again. And this
Yeah.
time because of the population,
Yeah.
we told everybody we have Mississippi Messiah, Indians and Black over together, have a family. We have, and when I told them they have a thing where they test and they test children. I don't know if they do it in the rest of the country. I know in California, but I don't know if our babies since the 90s are supposed to test black women to see if
Mm.
their child has a trait. So naturally, what we as a network ask, what about kids in the 80s? Have they been tested? What about our Ethiopians and our newer African Americans? Ghana, we have a big population of Africans, as you well know. Somalians, all those populations, as we say, with sub-Saharan ancestry, has a chance of having a child have sickle cell. And if they get it, it's the most debilitating thing. So that's just one of the areas that we're working with. Working with those spaces. There's so many things. Students are coming to us by those medical personnel. Professor Steve has put together an unbelievable curriculum. We actually have those five module concepts, the names I sent you, the origin, the original vision. We actually have a five module class. So when someone completes it, a couple hours a week, they're able to get a big, full picture of what the party is really about and how it continues to develop and progress and how important it is today. So I know we got Professor. You want to go ahead and chime in some more? I think we have a few more minutes. Am I correct, Keyshawn?
Oh no, maybe just to add for the participants here and the views down the road about more of the Black Panther parties that we had to evolve through the years.
Yes.
Because of our image evolved. Okay, we already said that we went from that paramilitary look with the black leather jackets, black berets, into into an attire that blended in with the community, so that the people wouldn't be afraid of us, look at us as some instrument gearing up for some type of aggression, but as a political organization that was able to address people, talk with people, to pull people along, and to understand that as their needs change, we actually were first responders.
Yes.
We were first responders
to the Black community.
That's correct. That's correct. We were the ones who saw that there were needs there that had to be addressed. And we didn't sit around entertaining dialogue and meetings about what we could do. Say, this is the problem. Here are the solutions. This is the one that we can attain. We can address that problem this way right now. And as those different needs and different interests arose and we became aware of them or understood that the needs were there and we can investigate and act on them, we informed the people and encouraged them to participate with us in the development of the programs for the development of a means of building their self-determination and community empowerment. We didn't wait on or rely on other agencies to give us permission.
And we feel that and still are charged today. Bringing that solution with people who are rhythm solutions. That's what we're about. And sharing that record, that global track record. I think we started to have a check you guys said, you guys had 53 startups. I'm like, 53 startups. He said, yeah, healthcare is yeah, $1 billion industry. Right? Transportation is seniors, $1 billion industry. In 1972, 73, we were so heavy and hot in testing and putting out about 6 or 7 million, cleaning the foundation and not asking for nothing. We embarrassed Richard Nixon, who hated the black family. You know the story. He actually has a whole record, a documentary about how he wanted to destroy the black family, especially the man. This is all coming out. He was forced from the National Institute of Health $110 million and purposely sit there on television talking about this on the news that affects blacks and Negroes, and we need to do something about it. And here's $110 million. Today that would be $1 billion. Now, whether it's worth the research or not, we'll never know. But if we, the Black Panther Party, and the black community, can embarrass a president Like a God will come of these faster the people. What can the power of the people do together again today? We ain't gonna
Yes.
wait on them. We don't care
Yes.
about that. We know what we have to do together. The media, the people coming to the table, we have everything we need to do so. This is I know we got a few more minutes
And
going.
that's
Do
what
you have any other questions for us? Or?
and that's what we're gonna and that's what we're gonna get into. Like I said, that's the first of many. You're gonna have Jens back to get into it so we can get into that part. And we're gonna work out some of the technical stuff so everything is peachy across the board. But yeah,
Yes, yes.
everything that Junts established back then and the work flows and methods and everything is needed today in the communities. It's needed today. The education that Junts provided to people. Junts were educators in award-winning schools, and everything, and that's needed today. Some of the stuff about the history, we need to know, like, more. What I appreciate about the internet is more of our people are more aware of our true history, are more aware of where they really come from, are more aware of all of the sacrifices that was made by the ancestors that came forward to move the population into the future, into the thing. The only thing that I look at today is that can be done is give us back the wealth that was stolen from us so we can maintain our own communities. That's what it is. Our wealth was stolen from our communities, stolen from the people, and then we're told we're less than that. But we're less than that. Or on our stuff, our stolen property, our stolen land, our stolen inventions, everything. So, that stuff is what got to be drilled into this next generation, this next wave, so they know. Because as it keeps moving forward, they're going to lose the icons like yourselves, like us, like everything. And that's why we like to create these digital records. So this will be there forever. They can go onto a YouTube and pop this up and draw information from YouTube on these periods, on this time, and how to move forward. And it could be the 25th century. They could be in there watching it moving forward. The Black Panther Party in outer space. Doing wherever it's going to go. It's always going to be a Black Panther Party from here on out. I already know that. It's never going to go away. It's never gonna dissipate, and we want to make sure that it's maintained. We want to make sure that the next generations are there to get this information and know the truth, not what they're going to tell you in the papers or in the movies. Their story, their spin on it. I want to hear the truth from people like yourselves that were there. That was the movers and shakers, the educators, the people that was making it happen, the authors of the party, and I think it's dope that just was able to come through tonight. And like I said, this is going to be the first of many, and I was telling you too, Dr. Dan, and you too, Dr. Steve, y'all put together lesson plans or whatever that you have, information that you want to get out there, and we'll revisit once a month, and we'll come on until we pick it up, and we'll put the information out there to grasp people. If you have guests that you want to bring through and everything else to get their parts, bring them through. Let's hear them. Let's talk to them. Let's get the digital record out there. Let's get the digital record going and keep it going. Okay. That's what I like to say, iHipHop's contributions, to the party today.
That is so wonderful and refreshing to hear. And there was an article that recently came out, a piece about the Generation Z is embracing the legacy of the Black Panther Party of what they know. So all that's telling us is that they're wide open. Professor Steve and I are meeting with one of the student ambassadors who works with every student organization from all over the world at UC Berkeley, and they really want to get involved and they want to learn. And we
Yes.
know with BSU students, and if you go on the website, bppaln.org, there's a testimony section, and you'll see testimonies from kids that came to school, walking, educational events, and 9 and 10 year olds. It is amazing and powerful what they say and what they say they are going to do and what they begin to. It's amazing, and gives us the hope that these generations are going to grasp this, hold on to it. And you know what we tell them? This is your royal legacy that was stolen from you,
Yes.
and we're going to restore it, and we're going to make it 1,000 times better than us. And you know what? We found out, Professor Steve told you, when they found out how young party members were, it's like they open up. They start talking to you, telling you how they really feel, how they really think about the world and what they see. It's like talking to adults who are a little more conscious than some adults do now. So this
Mhm.
gives us hope and lets us know we thought that we're on the right track. Professor Steve, go ahead. I know we got a few more minutes here. I think about 3 or 4. Is there any closing remarks you had at this point to kind of this very first section?
No, basically overall, as we've tried to um, bring into focus, is that the needs from the 1966 still exist here in 2024.
That's correct. That's
Okay,
correct.
that the same institutions and agencies that were guilty of providing illusions and that were doing a disservice to the Black and poor communities. All that's happened with them, if they've changed names and so, but their structure and content and their intent towards Black and poor people remains the same.
Remains the
So
same.
our intent has to not only remain the same, but has to be brought more aware. Since there's an age when people have more access to information, let's make it palpable to people, and let's clear a forum and forums that allow people to participate in
Yes.
these forums and in these opportunities. If this
Yes.
is supposed to be a participative government, let's clear the way so that people can participate and see for themselves what is stopping them and from
Advancing.
achieving their demands, and also being able to live in a life rewarding and life sustaining environment.
Mhm.
And if the
Yes.
Black Panther Party Alumni Legacy Network has to lead in that, or have a vote and have a steady appearance and participation in that, so be it. While we are here,
Yes.
while
While
we are
we're
here,
here, while we're here, Peace our motto has always been, we are all about the oppression, denial of human rights, and social justice of Black people in particular, but all oppressed people in general. And we set that concept alone. Yeah, our roof is on fire. It always has been on fire. And the fire is coming to you. So learn from what we did and what we did. I know we'll be able to talk about all of that next time. Whenever you decide to have this time, you'll be ready. So let us know. All right.
All right. All right, man. I appreciate your time because time is something you can't get back. And I appreciate that you come spend some of your time with us and the share the message. And like I said, this is going to be the first. Y'all know how to reach me whenever you're ready. Get the material and get whatever lessons y'all want to go, and let's run with it. Let's get it out there. Let's get it out there as soon as possible. This needs to be done like yesterday. So let's get it moving and get it refocused and get the energy flowing and to have the young people's attention. So let's give them what they want.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Peace God. Thank you. And as we said, always all power to the people. And in this millennium, we say the power of the people. Change starts from the ground up. And
Power
what
of
do
the
you always
people.
say,
There it
Professor?
is.
What do you always say, Professor? Stay what?
It's still more to come. So tell everybody, stay hungry. Just stay
Stay
hungry for
hungry.
more.
Stay hungry for more. All right, my brother. All right.
Curtis Blow, he liked what I did. I opened up for him. Def Jeff, a guy named Jeffrey Fortune, he gave me his manager's telephone number. So things were kind of taking off. Then I got someone that decided to never ask me any questions as to what I was doing. Didn't know I was doing a little music, had a part-time gig, and the assumption was that I was doing something illegal. Hey, just finished my interview with P-Stock. I want to shout out Dark Diva. I want to shout out Eli Harvey, Matthew Shell, all the dope producers that have helped with this project, bringing it to fruition. Really appreciate our opportunity, and I want to thank you, all the listeners. And again, I really appreciate being on this platform tonight. And hey, peace.
It's that your accomplishments are astounding, you know, and man, you need to pat yourself on the back for that, man. You've done it all.
Brother.
You know,
thank you, brother. I mean, thank you, brother. I appreciate it. Hearing it, you know, it still gives me chills when I hear it. And to be able to touch on these genres of music while respecting them and putting my spin on it has truly been a creative montage of things that I hold near and dear. Being creative, being freely creative, I think is my secret weapon, you know. I mean, hip hop and soul music is the love of my life. You know, I fell in love with music before I had my first girlfriend. It's a blessing to be able to do what we do. And I'm currently touring off this record, the Jeff Bradshaw 20 album. Currently on tour, and currently on tour with Miss Patti LaBelle as her special guest as well. So, you know, I'm coming to a city near you.
What's up, y'all? It's Janique. Check out my interview on iHipHopTV, one-on-one with P-Stock, and be sure to look out for me on Address the Culture with P-Stock and Big Wall. You already know what it is.
You know that he copping shit just to impress me. He buy me them dresses so he can undress me. He said that he like me in heels from Giuseppe. He stay out in Brooklyn. You know what it nets me. I call up my bitch, you know my little bestie. She bad and she bougie. Like she really gets me. I ain't got a filter, so please don't upset me. I say what I want. You know how that Tourette's be. Body out with a temper. My man, I for keep me in the center. Buy out the Benz winner in a rental. If money not come, then me I go mental. Pop out my jeans, man, too slender. Body well firm, body well intact. Watch on my bubble not talk, but the up in your man say I'm love on my body TikTok. Wait, tick, tock, tick. Tick tock, tick tock, tick tock, tick tock.